This video is brought to you by Law Excellence IAS Academy.
Dear students, good morning. Welcome to Daily Editorial Enrichment Program. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 8th May 2019. The first article is All for One, None for All. This is about marginalization of minorities. So there are three important points which are being stressed over here. Prime Minister Modi, he was talking about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. It means an inclusive approach to development. What it implies, all sections, irrespective of their language, caste, community, they will be given the benefits of development. Now, with regard to Muslims and minorities are concerned, there is a famous report that is called Justice Sachar Committee report. Based on this report, 15-point program was launched by the Manmohan Singh government. If we see the implementation of this 15-point program, all the political means for the empowerment of the Muslims are sidelined and only marginalized benefits are being passed to them. That is the first thing. The second thing is, the Sachar Committee has clearly stated that Muslims in India have to prove their nationality on a daily basis. It means that there is a lot of suspicion which has been built into this particular community. So here we need to talk about the second thing, inclusive and exclusive nationalism. What is nationalism? It is a self-perception of a collective identity that is called Indianness. Self-perception of a collective identity called Indianness. So how this identity is being created today? Let's take a foreign enemy, that is Pakistan, is taken into consideration, and showing the Pakistan as example. If you are not in favor to the state and state apparatus and their decisions, automatically the group is branded as anti-national and unpatriotic. So the territorial security, either surgical strikes, whatever the matter which are being questioned, or the foreign policy towards Pakistan, if it is questioned, it is being labeled as anti-national voice. And on the other side, urban Naxals, all these new vocabulary is being created to define the anti-nationals. So this kind of nationalism is exclusive nationalism. It means in Germany during the during Hitler's era, this exclusionary nationalism is said to have been practiced. So the next aspect is disenfranchisement of minorities. If we see the number of minority representatives in the legislative houses is coming down in the last 5 years. So this shows the voice or collective voice of these people to represent their problems in the legislature is going down. So with these three things, the author says that there is marginalization of the Muslims further and further. So though this article is a bit provocative, don't get provocated, try to understand it this way. That is, one, inclusive approach to development is what is expected. The nationalism that has to be nurtured and practiced shall be inclusive, and then our representation of different communities to protect the interests of our diversity shall be inclusive. So inclusive towards development, inclusionary nationalism, inclusionary democracy, all these are the cornerstones for our country. The next, the National Register of Cruelty. I will ask you a simple question. After these many years of independence, if government asks you to prove your nationality, how would you react to it? So let me put it in the perspective. The BJP in its manifesto stated that the National Register of Citizens will be implemented throughout the country to eliminate the illegal immigrants. Is NRC successful in Assam to extend the idea to the entire country? These two things have to be answered over here. The National Register of Citizens, it will classify the citizens as registered and unregistered. So obviously unregistered people can appeal and then they can prove the necessary documents to get that verified. So these non-registered citizens, they may end up in detention centers or they have to prove themselves again in tribunals, foreigners' tribunals. After that, if they do fail to prove, they will go to the detention centers. Now, can there be a better approach, humanized approach towards this? And second, if I am an Indian, if I fail to prove before the tribunal with right documents, will I be treated to life in detention centers? That is the question. And here there is another bill, that is Citizenship Amendment Bill. According to this, the people who have illegally migrated to India and who can prove themselves as victims of persecution in the neighboring countries of Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan, and belonging to minority communities in these countries, Hindus, Sikhs, then Christians, then Jains, these people are eligible for citizenship status. In a nutshell, we can say other than Muslims, they are eligible for citizenship status on relaxed terms, even though they are illegal immigrants. So, is this not violative of the principle of secularism? And the next is, if it is extended to entire India, so it means every citizen is expected to prove its nationality. Then what about the people who do not have the proper documents? These are soon expected to become stateless citizens. And how much is the cost expected to do this entire exercise? Can't we invest this cost on the other aspects of development? Third, rather than the detention of the people, why can't we provide them with certain recognition, or else we can small bracelets can be, or geotagging can be done, or something. Many other humanitarian approaches are being suggested, but the government did not take them forward as per this article. And then Assam has history of trouble with the illegal immigration. But did the rest of the country have the same problem? No. So in this context, Assamese were willing to prove their nationality to fight the illegal immigration. It is not the case with the South India and other states. Obviously, it will raise the issues of federalism. The states are expected to or else oppose this particular move of the center. So this is how the article talks about. Belt and Road 2. So why this has come in the first place? The first is economic reasons majorly dominate. So China has huge surplus labor, capacities, and then huge investment. How this surplus has to be used for further economic growth. In any communist regime, if employment and growth becomes stagnant, obviously political questions arise. And in China, there is a unique situation. Normally, to protect the economic system in communism, we have a political system that is created. But economically, China is practicing a controlled capitalism, and politically, it is a communism. That is a big paradox in the case of China. So there are huge surplus capacities are created, cement factories, glass factories, etc. These need to find new places of market. So that's why to use this, the Belt and Road Initiative has come up. The second is domestic politics are also a reason. Now, Mr. Xi Jinping's era need to be glorified. And third is security reasons. Especially in Western provinces, they wanted to provide for new employment, and they want to have a greater control over the Uyghur Muslims, etc. over there. And strategic reasons, if you talk about India, so we call it as string of pearls. It wants to dominate economic predominance of the United States of America on the global institutions. So these are the objectives of China. In the process, Hambantota has become a classical example of failure of Belt and Road Initiative. The debt on Sri Lanka was huge. And the second, India has a strong opposition to this. So either sustainability is in question, or relations of country, confrontation with the neighboring countries has become an issue. So China at Belt and Road Forum second meeting has clearly stated that it will co-opt with the developmental objectives of a given country and collaborate with the sharing of benefits of it. Here, Western countries like Italy, these are posing new questions. What are they? Why the state machinery of Beijing is dominating in this? Why the market mechanisms can't be given preferences? That is the first question. The second is, what about the huge corruption of the elitist rule or the ruling elite in a given country in hand with the Chinese state companies? And the third, what about the sustainability of the project? India like countries are raising the issues of sovereignty. So, in this, the recalibration of Belt and Road Initiative is necessary for China. On the political fringes, so here let us understand one simple thing. Today we are talking about voting rights to NRIs. What about the voting rights to the migrants within the country? A person from Assam, Bihar goes to Mumbai or Hyderabad for work. So this person, if he has to go to his native place where his vote exists, is very difficult and expensive affair. Why can't we provide them with voting in Mumbai and Hyderabad itself at the place of their work? That is the first question. And second, this right to vote at the place of the work for them will give them with the new voice. Normally, these people are being treated as outsiders and unwanted, and nativist politics dominate. Now, if you see Mumbai, initially it was South Indians, later workers from Bihar who are being target of nativist violence. Whenever a political party wants to gain few marks, the thing which they resort to is nativist violence. We can undermine this nativist violence by giving voice to these people who are more than 6 crores in India itself. And the third thing is, among these migrants, the people belonging to Dalit communities, these are much poor. So these lack much of voice. So developing a collective voice, especially for the marginalized, is important because there is a migrant tendency. People belonging to a particular area and village go and settle in a particular locality in a city. It means this entire locality resides in a particular place. And these will be further divided based on the caste and community as per the practices in their religion. So caste community divides are still dominant among the migrant community and their voting patterns. And the major danger for them collectively is nativist violence. This need to be fought by giving collective voice to them. And then surveillance wars in space. This is in relation to Operation Shakti. So India stated that it's a great achievement for itself. The defense experts, everyone stated. But there is further advancement with regard to counter space capabilities. It means how to neutralize space capabilities of a given country within the space. In this case, there are two words which are being used. One is RPO and cyber attacks, rendezvous and proximity operations. What happens is, in an orbit, when a satellite is moving, another spy satellite will come and spy on this particular satellite. Let's take Indian satellite is in orbit. Chinese satellite will come close to Indian satellite and try to spy on the Indian satellite on what information it is taking in from the space. So these are called rendezvous and proximity operations. Here there is an example which is given. The Russian satellite Luch Volump has come to proximity to Athena Phoebus of France. So this Russian satellite tried to spy on this satellite. That's what is the objection of the France. And the second is cyber attacks. Making a satellite fail to communicate with the Earth station or sending the distorted information to Earth station. This is the objective of the cyber attacks. So the space assets are going to be much vulnerable in the future, and India is still in the nascent stage when compared to the big three, that is US, Russia and China. That is what this article says. Prisoner of procedure. This is about sexual harassment complaint against the CJI. We have discussed this in detail in yesterday's news. Again, my thing is procedures, institutions, fairness, sense of justice, compassion. These have to be guiding factors for any public authority to function. Again, autonomy of the institutions, and then compassion, fairness, sense of justice shall be the factors that has to guide the functioning of every public authority in India. Now there are two. So this is about overstretched elections. More and more elections are coming to closure. The violation of the model code of conduct is increasing. The civil tenor is going out of the limits. It means the criticism is causing more and more divides in the functioning of the democracy rather than building the bridges. Elections people may compete, but people shall not get divided through elections. That is what is the essence of this article. Finally, have a good day. All the best.